Happy Australia Day today, everyone. We're just waiting on a number of people to actually join us. I've got a flag here. I'm going to start waving. Happy Australia Day. Yoo! I'm doing this without even having my coronas yet. That's still going to come. It'll be coming in a few minutes. So say hi in the chat. If no one knows what Australia Day is, it's actually our national holiday today where we celebrate being Australian. And we're really looking forward to having you all on board. Here's lovely Kerry. She's also celebrating with me today. Come on board, Kerry.
Happy Australia Day.
Cheers for Australia Day. So what is Australia Day, Kerry? Can you explain what it is?
Well, we celebrate everything that's great about this country.
And we do it all day today. So we have a... Michael said, what the...
Don't you like our glasses?
Don't you like this setup, Michael? This is my new Osler Images setup today. This is the way I'm going to do the podcast from now on, or these YouTube live broadcasts. It's a public holiday here in Australia today. It's our national day. We're celebrating it today. We got Francisco saying so cool. Richard's here. Hi, Richard. Say hi to Kerry, everyone. Kerry's
Hi.
here as well. It's a day of drinking. So we'll all be drinking. It's a day of barbecue. Terry said Happy Australia Day. He's popping on board now. Sorry for all you international people thinking these Aussies are nutcases.
Well, we are really.
Mike said, cool outfit. You look like Elton John. Woo! I'm doing this without even having a beer yet. Cheers, everyone.
And
and by the way, I've got my Aussie tie on.
Tie.
And also I have the tattoo. I got a tattoo this morning done. Look at those guns, everyone. They're amazing. Woohoo! So cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Even Susie has got involved.
Susie in the background there is wearing her lovely headpiece, and she's got the mohawk there, and she's also got the flag behind her there. That hat is from Brazilian Day. I know we're the same colours. It's actually the same colours as Brazil. The national colours of Australia are actually green and gold as well, even though it's our flag is blue and red, white and blue. So I'll be going off today, guys. I need a few of these Coronas today, and it's actually inside their little Aussie stubby holder. So if you are here today, you have to definitely crack a stubby with us today, guys, because you need to all be celebrating Australia Day with us today.
We should have got an Aussie beer, though.
Yeah, we should have got an Aussie beer, shouldn't we? Should have had a Foster's or a VB, as we like to call them, or a
4X.
Carlton. 4X is another one that we love down here.
You failed.
Yeah, I know. Jim Penn said, Happy Australia Day, mate, from the land of the frozen backsides.
We're hot here.
Yeah, I know, it's a hot day today. What is the temperature today? It's 28 degrees, so it's just nice and warm, actually, today. So it's nice. Actually, I'm going to put my watch on silent, otherwise it's going to drive you guys nuts. So let me put that on silent for you first. And Kerry can put the phone on silent. Oh. So I've got a stack of stuff to talk to you about today, guys. I'll get back so you can see my lovely tie, though. You can see it here. How hot do I look? I'll bring the tat out. Woo! Oh, that's funny. So that's basically it. Kerry's just taking a shot on her phone because we'll probably share it on social media as well. Like it's been going off this morning. Beers here. Do you want my? Oh, you want my beer in the thing? This is unreal. It's quite funny. Tonight we're going to go out and get fish and chips, which is not Australian. It's more English. And what are we going to drink?
Guinness.
Guinness. We've got to have a Guinness o'clock tonight as well, so we're going to have that tonight. Francisco says, I drink your beer to here in Italy. Which one's that, Francisco? Is that the Australian beer or is this the Corona? This is Mexican.
We're a bit confused.
Yeah, I know, we're a bit confused down under. Well, we are upside down to all you guys from America and Europe, so blood's rushing to our heads. Anyway, we've got a great show for you today, guys. I'm actually going to be showing you some great rumours that have come out, some bit of hardware sort of stuff as well. So we're going to look at some lovely stuff. Tony said it's 21 degrees in Florida, which is lovely. Jim Peds, hopefully you will not be going out in public in that.
I hope not. You might get locked up.
Yeah, they might lock me up somewhere, I think. One shooter gun. I can't believe you guys don't like this outfit. Do you like the hat? I think it looks fantastic, actually.
Covers the bald head.
With that, the tat, I know, how good was that tat? I'm so tough, because I sat there and went through the pain this morning with the tattoo. Didn't even flinch. Luckily it can wash off later.
Sponge and water.
Anyway, Kerry's going to say goodbye.
I'm going to go. Have fun.
Yeah, so Kerry's
I can take off these stupid glasses now. Bye.
I'm going to be serious as well in a minute too. Oh, that's so funny. Terry said that what he's put there, your last 2 YouTube videos were so beautiful. Thanks so much, Terry. I really appreciate that. I did put up a couple of videos yesterday. See you, Kerry.
Bye.
Kerry's going off to drink her Corona.
Yeah, out the backyard.
Bye-bye. Oh, God. Oh, I've got to take this off. It's killing me. Oh, that was funny. You know what? Some people are going to be watching this later on thinking, what is this guy on? Now, cheers. I think I might take the tie off too, because someone else will come in later thinking, what on earth is it going on? Yeah, it's a massive, for people overseas, it actually is a massive day today. We have huge celebrations all around Australia. There's big fireworks going on tonight. Everyone goes out for barbecues. It's just a natural day of celebrating everything about Australia, so it's really big. I suppose you have similar things in the US. I'm not sure what you'd call it in the US or what you'd call it in Europe. Do you have a similar thing in England and places like that? Just let me know, because I'd be curious to know if you guys do something similar. Now it's going to be hard to get back to normal. I'm just looking at all the comments through here, which most people are just saying hi at this stage. We've got, so just to sort of show you who's in here so far, Tony is here, Francisco's here, Tony Brown's here, we've got Jim Penn's here, David Johnson's here, so we've got stacks. Hussein said hi. No, Miss Kerry. Yeah, she just left. She actually just left 2 seconds ago. So she may be back later, I'm not sure. She's actually off having her beer now, Corona. She'll be chilling somewhere around. I'm just curious why I can't see the old chats, because I'm sure there was more than that earlier. Oh, there we go. Stupid thing's not going right back. Michael's here as well. Francisco's here. Richard's also here. So we've got Stack Stewart's here as well from Florida. So we've got stacks actually here, which is really good. I don't know why though that's not bringing up the scroll wheel, which is a bit weird. I might have to do it like that. No, I can't. Oh well, anyway. So we've got a great show, so I'm just going to cross over. Are we up to time yet? We are. So I'm just going to cross to the logo and then we'll start the show, guys. So let's bring that up. G'day everyone, g'day from down under. We've just had a bit of a pre-show. I'll probably leave it in for you guys, where we had a bit of fun saying what today is our National Day. You can see Susie back there is all dressed up and the Australian flag behind her. It's a holiday, public holiday in Australia today. Not that it matters for me, every day is a public holiday, but it matters for Kerry. Kerry's got the day off work today. So she's wrapped as well, and like I said, everyone's having barbecues today. There's fireworks going to go off later on and stuff. We're looking forward to this evening, so it should be really good fun. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to go through a stack of news with you guys today. Please, if you can too, check out my last videos. I just posted yesterday actually my last 12 months. Now, look, admittedly, it's only a very small portion of what I had, and I had such great trouble trying to choose what to put in. It was just a selection of images from my A6500, the a7R II, and my A9. So it was just a whole range of shots that I put in, from some portraits, weddings. My grandkids are in there that I wanted to put in as well. So I had a lot of fun actually showing it, you know, and I really do love to show what these Sony cameras can actually do. Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate the donation already. Did you put a comment on that? I need to see what it was. Get the party started early. Whoop, whoop. So Michael just gave a donation, so I really do appreciate that, Michael. So yeah, I put that 2 videos up. I just put up one this morning, which was a wedding video, so have a look at that one. That was Bethany, incredibly beautiful bride, great location, great amazing car, so have a look at that as well if you want to. It just basically, I just can't get over how much I am in love with the Sony gear that I use now and the results it's giving me. I mean, people say it is the photographer too, but yes, it is in a lot of respects, but still the gear does help you get what you get. And like I said, when I went back recently and shot with Canon and stuff and other cameras, I just didn't like the way it was. I hated losing that EVF. It's changed my world. So, Tony Brown too, let's do this. Thank you so much, Tony. That's another donation. Cheers, guys. Make sure you do crack a stubby with me, guys. And this is a stubby holder. We call this stubby holder down the bottom here. And this is a stubby. We do call them stubbies. I don't know what you guys call them overseas, but they're stubbies here. So please look at those videos because I'd love you to let me know what you think about them. I'm really proud of actually what they look like. Even the landscape images that were taken with the A6500 and the 10 to 105, the 18 to 105 millimeter lens, I'm just so happy with how that performed for a little travel kit. So watch that video anyway and let me know what you think about that. The first thing I wanted to show you too was, please, if you haven't yet, join our Facebook page because it really is starting to grow now. It's the Photography and Video School page. So please join us on there, and I'll stick the link down below that you can see later. Oh, thank you so much, Jim. Jim gave me a donation towards the Modelo beer. What's the Modelo one again? I can't remember. Is that Italian or something? So please join us on this Facebook page because it's for you guys. I've actually put it on there for you guys. And basically, I always come on saying when I'm going to be on live. We've also got, like Oreo's just put a thing on there talking about the Sony, the Rockinon 50mm firmware update. I've said there a live show in an hour, so I'll put that in there so people know. And there's always hardware gear stuff that's reviewed in here. People are sharing images, discussing stuff. I also do live frequently asked questions and stuff like that through here too, guys. So it's really for you guys, and I want you guys to promote your business through there. So the only rule I really have is that you don't upload too many pics in a day, and you don't do live broadcasts. The live broadcasts are just going to be for me, but I'm quite happy with you sharing Instagram feeds, sharing your YouTube channels, anything that you want to do. I'm happy for you to do that because I want this site to be for you as much as it is for me, and it's a great place that we can communicate. So please, if you can, join the Photography Videography School. It is only for photographers. So I usually do check that as well to make sure that you're from that area. I'll just move that over a little bit so you can see what it is. It's that one. Let me see if I can copy and paste this thing, and it didn't go in last week. So let me have a look. I'll try it. Yep, so it went in. Let me just pull back to here. And it's that link that's actually there. So if you haven't joined us, please join that link. So Jim, it's Mexican, is it? Increases testosterone levels. Kerry may not be happy about that, Jim. Well, she may be happy about that. Now, I am going to come back later on and give you time to ask questions. So please, if you want some questions asked, just put at David Oster, as you see that Jim has just done here. It just brings it to my attention, so I make sure I don't miss it. So please, if you can, do that because I really don't want to miss anything in there later on. So anyway, let's get started because I've got stacks of stuff to actually go through with you guys today. Let me just bring back this website. And we're going to start going through some stuff. So let's go to the latest news. So let me bring this up. So I've got a few things I wanted to talk, and like I said, you can talk in the chat, and obviously as this goes on, but I will give time at the end where I come back to it. So ask any questions and I will come back. Any questions at all. It doesn't have to be relating to what we're actually looking at here. It can be basically about anything, and I'll come back and talk to you about that as well. Clearly, if you're here later and you're not here on the live show, just ask the questions down below, and I always answer the questions. So the first one we're going to look at today is this interesting interview that was done by Sony's vice president, because there's a couple of interesting things that I want to discuss in with you here. And he's talking about, he said it would be nice if there is a 50 megapixel camera that basically it'd be the A9R that had the A9 speed. That would be nice. So he's talking about that they eventually may be going down that sort of an avenue. But what I wanted to talk about was some interesting things in here though, that's saying down here, this was interesting because it's saying here, at the same time, have you tried to improve the dynamic range and color rendering with the a7R II? And he's saying in this document, yes, we have used the same main processor as the A9. So if people were wondering about the color science that's used for these cameras, he's actually saying that the a7R III is the same processor as the A9, but it obviously has a newer operating standard that makes the camera faster, increasing the dynamic range and gives better color depth and color tones, obviously, than what the A9 has. I'm not sure what he means about faster. It must mean about the actual processing of those images files, because remember, they're dealing with much higher megapixel files, so that probably means it's faster and it gets those images off fairly quick, because that file size is so large. What else was the interesting thing I read before? There was one that I really liked. The interesting thing was, he was talking here about why didn't they obviously put the controls on both sides of the camera like they have with the A9 on the a7R II. And what they're talking about are these controls actually through here. So if you're looking at it, how on the A9 you've got these controls on this side, which, let me see if I can bring it up nice and close for you. So you've got those controls where you do your manual, shutter speed, aperture, your P mode, program mode, S and Q mode is on there. You've also got your 1, 2, and 3 for setting picture profiles and profiles up and things like that. Underneath that, you've also got the camera speed like AFS, AFC, DMF, etc., things like that. So, but he's basically saying in there that the reason why he did that was because he wanted to basically make it look different than what the A9 is. And he's saying that people don't talk about when you have better cars and things like that, and they may look similar on the outside, but they'll have different features and stuff. So he's just saying it was basically a call for saying you wouldn't have a BMW 5 Series and compare it with an A7 Series. He's just bringing that up as cars, and I'll put that in the link down below. But he's basically saying that they're different series of cameras, and they wanted to basically make them look different as well. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about as well. He was talking about ASPC cameras, and it's clear looking at this that they are still intending to support the APS-C cameras. Basically, he's saying that we've increased the range of different cameras in full frame and see great potential for cameras with the small image sensors. And he's just putting in there that Fujifilm and Olympus have been successful with their high-end APS-C and Micro Four Third models. So basically, he's saying that they're still going to cover those cameras. But he's just saying that on here, that you've launched new models in the Alpha A7 series and the A9 series, much more than the APS-C cameras, and he's just saying that they're concentrating on the professional photographers at the moment, but the one underneath is still saying that they will support the APS-C and full-size segment. It's just a matter of time, I think, before they update the A6500. So that's an interesting thing there as well. But a more important rumour was this one, which is the first one I've seen, which is this one, which was under Daily Camera News. And it's actually saying they've got the leaks for the first time of what the a7 III will be. Now, I'm not sure how credible this is, but I found this on the web. And it's actually linking it to say the 24 megapixel sensor, and it's going to have a 693 point AF system of the Sony A9. But down here, it's saying that it'll be 24.3 megapixel image sensor, 4K video recording, same autofocus system as the Sony Alpha A9, a fully articulated touchscreen. Well, that's interesting. That will be interesting if they do that. BSI sensor, AA filter or global shutter in silent mode, faster EVF, better weather sealing, dual card slots, and a price around $2,000. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about those specs? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to come back and talk to you about that, because that's a really interesting spec sheet. And I'm not quite certain I believe it, because if it's too close to the A9, who would buy the A9? And this is the thing that I'm not quite certain about, how close that system will be to the A9. It doesn't mention the joystick and stuff on the back, or whether it'll be the same body. But it is mentioning dual card slots. It's mentioning the faster EVF, the BSI sensor, the articulated screen, touchscreen is really interesting, and that'd be amazing if they do give us that feature. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Cheers. Because I think that's a really interesting rumour. So that's the first rumour that I've seen talking about the A7 III at this stage. So I'd love to know your comments about that. The next one we're actually looking at is this is quite an interesting one. If you've bought the a7R III, and you're not even actually any Sony camera, because the menu systems are fairly similar. Kevin Raber, I think his name is, has gone through and explained the a7R III settings. It's an 85-minute video, so it is quite an extensive video, though, and I'll put the links to these down below so you can go and have a look at these yourselves. But so that's a really thorough, in-depth discussion on the a7R III menus. And like I said, if you did have other cameras, the menus really are often fairly similar. So you probably could use it for almost any Sony system. They may be in a different place, but the menu settings themselves are basically the same. So that's a really good video if you do want to go through all the menus and you're struggling with knowing what menus are. Another one too, which is an interesting one. Again, I'll put the link in down below so you can have a look at this yourselves to see. Another photojournalist, David Burnett, has switched to Sony after 40 years with Canon. So he was with Canon for a long time. And again, he's given a reason why, and you guys, it's only 4 minutes, 52 seconds, but you guys can watch that and discuss that as well. It's going to be interesting to think if Canon released a full-frame mirrorless camera, whether he thinks he might have moved a little bit too fast. But I mean, people the problem is Canon cannot wait forever, and how long can they keep saying to people, yes, we're going to bring it out, we're going to bring it out, and I'm going to discuss this a little bit later, but you don't know what they're going to bring out yet. You don't know whether this is even going to be as good as anything Sony have got out at this stage. So, you know, we're just waiting on this, and rather than waiting, which might be 12 months before it actually is released, you know, he could be using that now for the next 12 months, and he knows exactly what he's getting in the beginning. And to be honest, the way Sony updates, like the second Canon brings anything out anyway, it's going to be outdated by another Sony camera anyway, which will probably change the whole ball game again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But have a look at that and let me know what you think in the comments down below, because I'll be really interested to see what you guys think about that discussion. But yeah, so another photojournalist has gone over, and like I said, 40 years is a long time to be with one manufacturer. Admittedly, I was with Canon for, I can't remember how many, with Nikon for, I can't remember how many years before I switched over 2 years ago. So I was with them for 20 odd 30 years. So I was with them a long time as well, and I completely switched. So I know basically what he's going through. Have a look at that and let me know in the comments what you think about that, guys. If you have Samyang lenses, or Rockinon, it's the same thing. There's new firmware updates for the 35 and 50mm FE lenses, and apparently it has improved performance. People were talking about it in my photography and videography school on Facebook, and they have said that the focus has improved. So look, definitely if you have those lenses, make sure that you do update the firmware, but I think you need a dock to actually do it if that's correct. I read somewhere that you need to have some form of a dock to get that to work, the firmware upgrade. And I think it might have been Oreo was saying that he couldn't get it done because they never had the dock where he was in Europe. But yeah, anyway, if you can, perhaps it could be that you could just take it into a store and they could do it for you there, something like that. But it's definitely worth doing, because if you look at these improvements down here, they're saying improved autofocus performance in low light, because that was one of the issues with those lenses, and I know that was a fact because Oreo, for instance, discussed that with me. So it has improved the low light performance, and it says I can confirm this on the a6500 and the a7 II in very low light. Wow. Improved AFC tracking speed, and they also said I can confirm this with the a6500 and the a7 II, but it was already very good before, but it has improved it. It just says the AF35 focuses incredibly fast anyway in all models, including IAF, but obviously it has improved since they've done that update. So there you go. Now that's the 35mm one. The 50mm, it says improved autofocus in low light, same thing as the other one. And it's also said fixed shutter delay problem after focus confirmation when strobe was installed. So that must have been some sort of a bug that finally came, because he said, finally, this has bugged me forever with the Godox 1IT AD600 combo. There you go. And it's also saying it automatically switches to manual focus mode in video mode on the A5000, some other cameras as well. It just says AF on the A50 is nearly the same as the 35 in darkness now, including the portraits on my wall. Plain awesome. So there you go. So if you've got those lenses, guys, please update. Another thing too is Zeiss has a Sony Alpha Day on February the 10th. Cheers. And there's rumours that they're going to release this lens, actually, the Loxia 25 2.4. That's what they're saying the rumour is. And they're saying it's going to be priced at $1,299 and shipment will start in March. And it says that it seems that pre-orders will be accepted when's that? Pre-orders will be accepted from the 14th of January. So that's a lens that's going to come out if you're interested in getting some Loxia 25mm 2.4. Probably be a beautiful video lens. It's, you know, I mean, I love primes, and also look at the focus ring and everything on that. The aperture ring is all probably declicked. It'd be gorgeous to run that lens. You can see it here. It's all declicked. Has the aperture ring on the lens itself, which is really nice as well. Much easier, like I said, if you're shooting video like that, particularly if it's declicked. That's the reason I haven't got it here. Oh, yes, I have. That's the reason why I love this one so much. To have that ring where you can change your aperture through here. Now, on the side of it, you've got this, I've just got to find it. You've got that there, which if I click, you can go from where it will click. I don't know whether you can hear it. I'll try. All right, so it'll click like that. And the problem is if you do that in video, it steps. So the issue is if I was inside a church and I'm shooting video and then I want to walk out from a dark church outside, if I do it with that clicking on, it steps between each aperture. So if I don't shut off the camera and stop it, you'll see it actually step through. If I turn the declicking aperture off, well then basically it will just smoothly go, which is beautiful because it will smoothly transition through. The other thing too is you can set it on the A, which is the red A back here, and if you do that, it will work from your auto setting. So if you're working on aperture priority on your lens, it will work from aperture priority on that too. So you've got 3 ways of working this. Like I said, for me personally, I would pay an extra $1,000 just for that. Because for me, for doing video now like I am, that's a game changer for me, and it's certainly worth the money over, say, what Samyang or whoever else has 35mm lenses. But that's for me, because I'm doing a lot of fusion, etc. So, you know, that's one of the beauties of that. So I'd say that this camera has a similar feature in that you'll have your aperture, which would be declicked, I'd say. And it's not focused by wire, which is even better for doing your manual focus and stuff. So anyway, so that's going to be coming out shortly. Now on the Canon front, I'm not sure whether this was a rumor or whether it's true, but they're saying that Canon has sent invitations to dealers for major mirrorless presentation next month. And obviously, the rumors are that this is going to be their full frame mirrorless camera that's going to be announced. But that may be possibly just an announcement. There's no date yet on when these could be produced. They may be putting information about what's going to come out. They haven't given any dates in here that it is anything about when it's going to come. Perhaps Canon are finally learning that they are going to have to up their game and release something. There's no mention here about the mount that they'll be using and things like that, so this is all going to be very interesting about the flange distance, things like that. But it is an interesting rumour, so they're saying next month is that announcement's going to be. And it just says, we've been told that Canon is sending out very elaborate invites to select dealers, so it's only going to be select dealers, and they'll probably all be on contracts to not say anything. But basically it's saying in here that to select dealers and VIPs for their mirrorless camera announcement next month. It says the invitation was described as being very high-end, printed on heavy glossy paper and showing a silhouette of a camera shaped like an EOS M6 with a hole cut out where the sensor would be. Apparently only CEOs and higher up are allowed to go to the presentation. No salespeople are permitted. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'm curious. What do you guys think about that? And that's what they're sort of saying, that, you know, the camera shape is going to look like. But it's like I said to you before, Nikon and Canon both have to do that this year. If they don't do that this year, they're in real trouble. Remember, we're going to get an a7S III shortly, probably to come out very soon or be announced very soon. Might be NAB or somewhere like that. I also think there'll be an A6700 upgrade. And if that a7 III upgrade comes out, it's going to be interesting to see where these Canon and Nikon cameras fit and compete against those new Sony cameras coming out. So, you know, I mean, they're not even released yet. So it's going to be fantastic to see what comes out of these. And let me just say, if Canon don't do a good job of this, or if Nikon don't do a good job of this, they're really screwed, because they really have to do a good job right up. I think some people may be waiting to see what they release first, but if they don't release something that's good enough, a lot more people may switch over. But yeah, let me know what you think about that, guys, because I'd be curious to know what you guys think about that. Now, this thing here is really interesting because I wanted to show you this. This I found this morning. It's Photojournalist, I think, is the website that does this. Now, if you go to the site, and I'll put it in the link down below, but you've got to give your email address, and then you can download this PDF, which shows this, and I'll talk about this in a second. You can download the PDF, and it talks about all these different things to do with Canon. You can also download an Excel spreadsheet that lists all these things in Excel as well. But what it is actually this, and let me see if I can bring it up. It's the Digital Photography Ecosystem Map 2018. Now, why it's quite handy for people, particularly that are learning, or really anyone really, is that it's so detailed, because if you look over here, it's got photo camera manufacturers, so all the photo camera manufacturers are listed through here. It's got lens manufacturers as well, so that's coming up. Let me just see if I can move this around so you can see these. You've got the lens manufacturers here, all listed down. Underneath here, we've got drone manufacturers listed, and down here there's also photography awards. And this is digital printing services. So that's your digital printing services as well. Over this section here, we've got photo stocks that are available. Down one underneath, it's photography online education. So these are all educators that are online. Underneath that, there is photo sharing and hosting sites. Photo viewers and managers are underneath there. You can see how extensive this is. This must have taken a hell of a lot of work to actually do. We've got desktop photo editors here. Underneath that, there is RAW processors. Underneath that is HDR photo editors. Underneath here is photo contest services. This is mobile apps, so that's things that you can put on your iPhones and things like that. That one there is face editing software, so it's Portrait Pro, things like that. Online, oh, we already did that, didn't we? Online photo editors, yeah, they're online ones. Over here we've got photo utilities. Underneath that there's plugins, filters and effects. And down here finally there is photo enhancers. I mean, how amazing is that graphic or that picture that you can just save? And like I said, it also comes in an Excel spreadsheet as well. So I'll leave the link in that below. All you have to do is leave your email address to this company. I did, and they promise that they won't spam you. So, I mean, I don't know whether they will or not, but I wanted to download it for you guys anyway to show you. But that's fantastic. I thought that was such a great little, you know, utility or map that you could use for anyone that's thinking about doing that sort of thing. And then lastly, I just wanted to go through the Mavic Air, because recently I did buy the Mavic. I'm not sure how many of you will want to buy this Mavic drone when you've got the if you've bought the Mavic before the Mavic Air has just been announced. I was just looking at some of the things that may be different about it compared to what my Mavic is, and I don't think I'm going to upgrade actually at this stage. I may wait for a new Mavic Pro to come out. I suppose the only thing is I was looking at the, it's saying in here, let me just reduce this down so you guys can see this. Let me bring it down a bit. I just want to show you some of the specs that's being announced. It's saying that the main thing is it's very small. Now, one of the issues that I heard about when I was looking at some reviews about this drone was that it is incredibly noisy. I think they've said it's around about 4 or 5 times noisier than the Mavic Air, which could be a real problem. If I do like to be a bit more discreet, not so obvious about when I'm shooting and going about, this thing was noisy as, and that could be an issue for me if you wanted to stay quiet. I'm not sure why it's so noisy actually. But the size and weight obviously is a big advantage if you look at the size. It is tiny. It's looking against the Spark, I think. But it is really small, folded up. And it's only, it's 430 grams, a little less than a pound. It's a little bit heavier than the Spark. The camera and gimbal, it talks about that. And I'll put this in the link down below in case if you wanted to do it. One of the main things is that for the video, that it does do... A lot of people were saying it does 4K 60 and it doesn't. So that's one thing that was listed that it doesn't actually do. But it is 100 megabytes in the codec. So it is a bit of a better codec than the Mavic Pro. But you can do 2.7K at 60p. So, and that's probably good enough. I know Philip Bloom recommended, I think, to shoot at 2.7K. So if you did want to shoot at 60p, you can shoot at 2.7K at 60p. I think the new Maverick, when that comes out, will probably give you the ability to shoot 4K 60p. That's why I'll probably wait and see what they release in the coming months. It's only a matter of time, I suppose, before that's updated. The controller also is a bit of an issue as well because it doesn't have the screen. If you look at here, in the Mavic Pro, there's actually a screen there. If you do lose your connection through the iPhone, and that can happen a lot, you can use that screen on the Mavic Pro there to guide the, your drone home and see which heading it is and things like that. The problem is if you're a reasonable distance away using this, you've got no idea of its direction, whereas when you're using the Mavic Pro, it does give you directions and things like that in that digital LCD readout that you get on the controller. So there's some things that you've sacrificed, obviously, to do with that, but it seems like a really good update. I mean, it's beautiful and tiny. I don't find my Mavic Pro, to be honest, to be that big to lug around anyway. Like I said, I'm probably just going to wait until the new one is actually released. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. Is anyone going to get that? It shows in here basically the size. You're talking about the size is really small. I mean, it is really, you can almost put it in your pocket. The other thing too is the flight time's not quite as good as what your Mavic is. The Mavic is 27 minutes, but you end up getting about 21, something like that. This says it's 21 minutes, and I guarantee you'll probably only get 16 out of it. The other thing too is it's not as good in going against the wind, so if you are fighting wind, it could be an issue getting it back. So there are little things about it that I'm not sure about at this stage, but seems like a good thing. They're still innovating. No one forces you to buy it, obviously, if you don't want to, so that's a really good thing as well. Cheers. Now, what I want to show you about is this little slider I've bought, and I'm going to review it. A few of you will know that recently I bought a Fosicam gimbal, which I really love actually. I really do like it. And so the other thing is, because I now shoot Fusion, remember I'm doing a lot of video and stills at the same time, I really want to minimize the amount of gear that I take in my bags, because if I'm traveling by plane or whatever, it's really hard if I'm doing Fusion. The amount of gear that I have to carry when I'm doing video and stills at the same time, even though I'm shooting Sony, is still really extensive. So anything I can get that makes things smaller for me, I love. Let me just bring up this site and I'll show you the thing that I bought, and I've got it and I'll show it to you. Because it's amazing and I love it, and I'm going to review it so you can see it shortly. Just got to go for these sliders. Now, where are they? Digital sliders. Let me come up here. I bought this little one here. So I bought this. So the site is called, let me just move this around so I can get it on for you. The site is actually Fosicam. It's where, like I said, I've bought that gimbal, and also now I've just got this slider that came through. So it's actually this one here, and it's amazing. And I'll show you the full size in a minute. But really why I like it is because it's sort of like the Eldachrome one. It's very similar in how it works. You just put a tripod head on, you know, your normal head on there. And it's basically a 9-inch. It says over here that it's a 9-inch. Let me just move this out of the way. They're saying over here that it's a 9-inch, 3.5-inch slider. But when you put it onto into a tripod, you get 18 because it doubles it. Now the great part is it's only 98 bucks. Like, it only cost me 98 bucks. I mean, you can't go wrong, can you? Really? But I'll show it to you so you can see it. So this is the actual unit itself. Now I've put this head on it, which I use, which is the Eldachrome head actually. And I love that because I can manipulate it to where I want it to go. But, you know, you don't have to have that head on it. But basically it's tiny. I'll just take that off actually so you can see how small it is. So let me pull it off. So that's the unit itself. It's really small. So it's made of metal, and you have these little legs underneath that you can move up and down, so you can balance it. And on the front there, you've got a nice level, which is good too. You've got these locking arms on the side, so you can lock the head so it won't move. It's actually locked. Oh no, it's not. You can lock it so the head won't move. But if you put this on a tripod, what it does, it gives you 18 inches, so you can go all the way from there to all the way over here. So you get your 18 inches of travel. But it's tiny. It's made of metal. And from what I've used so far, it's really smooth. Like, it seems to be really smooth. But for 98 bucks, now I'm not sponsored by this company at all. They're not even on Amazon, so I can't even give you an Amazon affiliate link. Which is unfortunate, because then I probably could get a bit of a kickback if I could use an Amazon link. So I'll put the link down below anyway, and if you are interested about giving this a go, 98 bucks, I mean, incredible. Obviously you pay for shipping, but it's beautiful, and it's full metal. Amazing. I can't believe they did it for that much. You know, it comes in a little box like that. And like I said, I've bought the gimbal too recently, so I'll stick that in the link below. I am going to do a review on it, so I will show you how it works. I'll do a review on it sometime to let you see how it is. But the great part about this is I did put a review of my camera bags on recently. This is so easily going to fit into my camera bag, and that's what I'm so happy about. The size of this thing is tiny. And that's what I'm after now. Remember, I'm only mostly doing things like flowers. I'll be putting the flowers on a bench. This could be sitting on the bench, and I can just slide just nicely with the flowers on the bench. Great for doing wedding rings. I can have the wedding rings sort of there and slide into them or slide away from them, or even move this way across. So these are sort of things that I just love, and the technology you can buy now for reasonable prices is incredible. Eldachrome has one, and I have the mini slider. That's way more expensive though than what this is, and I'm really impressed with how this feels, to be honest. But anyway, I'll let you know how it goes in the review, but I will stick that in the review for you when I actually do it. And like I said, I'm not sponsored by them at all, guys, so always truthful with you guys. So let's go to questions, because I'm going to bring them all up and we can go through those together, and we'll see if I can answer any questions. I don't know why though this isn't scrolling. It's weird. Oh, there we go. I have to use the up and down arrow keys. Thank you so much for the donation, guys. It's Michael, Tony and Jim. I really appreciate that. Beginning here, they're all talking about when I had my hat on and everything for Australia Day a little bit earlier on. Francisco said my best friend came from Italy to live in Melbourne. Oh, wow, that's cool. 9 likes, start clicking, please. Oh, that's Jim saying about clicking for thumbs up. Thank you, Jim. Mike said we have a day in Germany, Unity here in Germany, David, and the Americans overseas have the 4th of July. So the 4th of July is the same thing, is it? Yeah. Like I said, it's a big celebration here in Australia. We just love it. Today's a real big celebration today. Donations there. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. I must try that. Few people have been saying that Modelo is a great beer. I don't even know if you can get that here. I'll have to see. Francisco said, well, David, I bought the A6500 to play along with the A7R II. Great camera. I love my A6500. I'm really surprised from the wonderful pictures this performance this little APS-C can have. And like I said, look at that video I just posted with my the camera review. Because, let me just clear that questions, because those landscape photos that I did were shot with the A6500 with the 18 to 105mm lens. You can't tell me that they're not good images. And this is where a lot of people will say, you've got to have full frame, you've got to have full frame. Rubbish. You don't. It's all about the skill of the photographer, and that for a travel camera was amazing, and I just loved using it. And I put them on there deliberately to show what the A6500 could give you. Sharp as, really sharp. What else? Francisco said, really love the autofocus. Mike said, David, my first take on the Samyang firmware update is in the SAR article. The F35 and A50 now focus in complete dark. Well, there you go. So Mike is saying that there was a massive improvement from the firmware update for those Samyang lenses. So if you have got the 35 and the AF50, you should update as soon as possible, because obviously there is a big difference in what's there. Michael said that will be a monster. I'm not sure what that was, Michael. Obviously something I spoke about early on. I am Brown said, when you need an a7R III, you say an a7R II. I know, I always get mixed up between the two of them. The numbers do my head in sometimes. I wish they'd give it a different number so I don't keep getting so confused, Tony. Francisco said, I think slower frames per second. He's talking about the new a7R III rumours. Yeah, there's no way they can give you 20 frames per second. They're not going to give you 20 frames per second in the a7R III. There's no, the a7 III I mean, there's no way, because why would you buy an A9? There has to be differences in that camera. I'd be surprised if it may be a similar focusing system, but I bet you they don't give you the full screen coverage like the A9 has. They may cut that back like the a7R III has. But yeah, the other thing is Jim said, articulating screen, fully articulating screen for the a7 III. Hopefully, I'll believe it when I see it. That's one thing I don't think they're going to do, but I so hope that happens. Definitely for the A6500 update, I'm hoping that that's what they bring out with that camera. I would love to have that. That's why I love the GH5. You know, when you can basically have these cameras and then you can be facing your camera, you know, like this, and then bring out your screen and manipulate it whichever way you want it to go, is unbelievably handy. I just wish Sony would do that, and I don't know why they won't. Please give us that, Sony. I mean, I don't care if you think it makes the camera less strong. Still, just give it to me. So I'm hoping that still happens. What else have we got here? I think it will have the autofocusing of the A6500, but not as many contrast autofocusing points. And you're probably right, David. They won't give you the same. I doubt very much it'll have the exact same focusing as the A9. I just can't believe that. Mike said, I also shot Canon for 40 years, 3 years Sony now, so similar time to me, Mike. Robert's saying hi from Alabama. Hi, how are you? You do need the Samyang dock to update. Yeah, David said that, and it's not available here in the States. Oh, that's a shame. So can you update it, David, or what do? You just can't. Do you have to send it back to the manufacturer to change that firmware? I wonder why they're not shipping that to at least stores or something. Jim said, David or anyone, I will be buying the a7R III in February. Do I need to be concerned about where the body is manufactured? Why do people have a tough time pronouncing February? Bad kush. I don't think you do. I wouldn't worry about where the body's manufactured. I think that's more for hardware geeks than anyone else. I don't really give a crap where my cameras are manufactured. I wouldn't care where the Sony A9 was done, whether it's Japan, Thailand, or wherever. Sony is still going to have the same standards. No matter where they get it, I wouldn't worry about it. But that's just me personally. The only thing I do worry about though is where I purchase that I get the full warranty. not getting a grey market camera. I just don't think it's worth getting grey market cameras due to the fact that if you have an issue, you can't just send it back to Sony. You can't use Sony Pro support. So there's real issues with it, and I just wouldn't buy grey market cameras. I'd pay the extra. I know it's dearer, but I would pay the extra to get the full-on local country warranty. Francisco said, I'm wondering when Samyang will make an 85mm AF for Sony E-mount. Better if it's 1.4. They will do it, Francisco. It's just a matter of time, but they will do it. David said, Jim Penn, all the Sony bodies are produced in Thailand. Like I said, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I really don't care where they're made, to be totally honest. Mike said, yes, you need the Samyang USB lens station. I was lucky to grab one in the UK. Oh, okay, so they had one. You had one in the UK from somewhere. Hussein said, focus going to be the same as the a7R III. No articulating screen since the A9 and the a7R III didn't have it. I guess it's going to be an a7R III with a 24 megapixel and fewer frames per second. Look at me burping, I've had that beer. 70% of the ISO strength. Yeah, you could be about right. I mean, like I said, I can't believe they're going to give you the A9. They're not going to do it. There's no way they would give you the A9 in that body. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy the A9. But having said that, this, for me personally, would make an amazing second camera to shoot for weddings. Remember, I'm really comfortable shooting 24 megapixel for weddings. I love that file size. It's not too big. Even if I use my a7R II, I'll only grab that for a small percentage of the shots because I just don't want that file size all day. It's too much storage and I just don't need it. I'm quite comfortable shooting that 24 megapixel file size, and to be honest, I still think that's the sweet spot. I still think it's the best sort of megapixels for events and weddings, those sort of things. And I just love that file size. It gives you enough that you can crop in if you need to. I was using a D3S and that was 12 megapixels, and I'd even blow that up to A3 size or bigger, and it was still fine. I'm quite comfortable working with 24 megapixels and still enlarging. Yes, it's not as big as an a7R III, obviously, and it's nowhere near as big as the a7R II that I've got. But for me, like I said, for weddings, I still think that the 24 megapixels is the perfect file size. So an a7 III, if it's really good, they fix the focusing, you get the dual card slots. That's going to be a great second camera to something like an A9. Fantastic. So it's going to be interesting to see what they offer. David said, Jim Penn, you will love the camera. A good customer of mine owns it and is in love with it. Michael said he really likes the Loxia line. They're beautiful, Michael. Gorgeous lenses. David said, love the Zeiss lenses, just hate the price points on them. Yeah, they're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. And you know what? They'll last a lifetime, those lenses, and that's what people have to think about. The lenses will last a lifetime. The bodies will change, but the lenses won't. What else have we got? Mike said, what you just read about SAR on the Sony firmware update were my first impressions. Yeah. About that obviously is about how you said the firmware, the focusing is now so much better, Mike. Like I said, if you've definitely got those lenses, you need to somehow get them fixed or get that updated firmware for that. Tony said, David Johnson and Michael Maestro almost bought a Zeiss 55 on eBay today. Oh, I love that lens. I really love the lens 55 1.8. It's just so sharp, incredible in low light. That's always my go-to lens for low light in wedding receptions and stuff like that. I really love that lens. Good travel lens too. I mean, it's nice. Works great on the a6-500 because you get that focal length of 85mm, that rough look of that. I love it, and I'll never sell that lens. I'm going to keep that one forever probably. Francisco also said the 55 is one of my favourite lenses. You do just have to worry, I agree Tony, buying it second hand, how good it is. Just make sure you can return it if there's an issue. David said, check out Best Buy. They have an open box section on eBay where you can find some great deal on Sony lenses. What else have we got? David said, once you pair the 55 1.8 on the a7R III, you have a killer combination. You have two, it's beautiful. And don't forget, David, that is a fantastic lens also on the a6-500 or the a6-300 as well. It works fantastic. I use that all the time because I love that 85mm focal length. Oh, okay. Tony said there's a 15% restock fee, so you do lose money. But then David said not if it's defective. So that's a good point. Actually, let me bring up these questions. 'Cause I'm reading all these without bringing up questions. Let me just hit back over here. Jim said, I get great images with the 55 1.8 on either my a7 II or my a6 500. And like I said, I use it on the a6 300, the a6 500, and all my full frame cameras as well. Beautiful. It's just stunning. I love it. What else have we got? How can I change the size of my live chat box? I can't see the right-hand side. Not sure, Robert. I just disconnect it. So I click on the 3 buttons on the top and then pull it out. So that way you can make it any size you like. That's the way to do it if you want to use pop-out chat. So again, go near up the top where it says live chat. There's 3 buttons. Click on that at the top up here. And then just basically click and say, it'll come up with a pop-out chat. Then you can drag it and make it any size you like. Let's keep going down. David said, I'm laughing because David says, I'll wait until David Oster buys the Mavic Air so I can buy his Mavic Pro from him. Like I said, I don't think I won't be buying that. There's no way. If that's that much noisier than the Mavic, I really like to be discreet, and that's important for me because sometimes I like to fly basically where I probably shouldn't be. And if it's so loud, you cause so much attention to yourself. And it really is loud from the reviews I've seen of it. So I'm even going to buy the new propellers for the Mavic Pro, which are those quieter ones. I'm going to replace all mine with those because even that drops it by a couple of decibels. And then it really is really quiet. So I don't think I'll be getting that. I may get the Mavic Pro update when that comes out, but I'll wait and see. Mel said, Bar, knowing you'll buy the Mavic Air. Francisco said, where did I get that? Where did I jump to? Oh, so he's saying, yeah, Mike has said to Francisco, next on Samyang's roadmap for 2018 is the 135 f2, is it? Or probably the 85 1.4 will be next. So they're on the roadmap coming through as well. Mel said, there you go, admit it. You want to keep things small and light. There's an mission. The Mavic Air, the Mavic Pro is so small, Mel. It actually is really small. And I mean, look, yeah, that's even smaller, so it would count in that regard. But the noise would worry me. Have a look at some of the reviews. It's bloody noisy. So I'm not sure whether I want to get that because of that noise alone. I probably would get. Well, if you look at Tony Northrup's video, look at his review about it. He said that. He said he's going to have both drones. If he goes traveling and stuff like that, he may take the Mavic because he wants to be discreet. Otherwise, he'd take the Air because it is a little bit better quality. It's smaller, but the noise was substantially louder. I'm not saying it's not good. If I was buying a new drone now, I don't know which one I'd get. So, yeah, I mean, I've already got it, so I just don't think there's enough for me to update. I think Max Europe said he was going to upgrade to it, and he put some reasons why, so I probably should watch that to see what he said about that. David said, if Samyang came out with a 135 f2, that is as good as their manual focus one without the CO, they'll have a winner, and they would. That'd be a beautiful lens. Michael said that slider looks nice. I know, how small is it? And it feels beautiful, Michael. It's really smooth. I really like the way it feels. I can't wait to use it and try it. And for 98 bucks, Michael, honestly, you can't go wrong. Jim said, re-slider, get 2 and do a perfect moonwalk. Ronnie said, when the A7 III release? I think the A7 III will come out after the A7S III, though. I think, Ronnie. I think the A7S III is going to be the next camera that Sony announce and release. They have to. They've got to compete with the GH5. So I think that's probably going to come out next, the A7S III. Then it might be the A7 III, and then perhaps an A6700. But the A6700 could be announced at any time. They may just drop that all of a sudden. But yeah. Terry said, hey David, I'm having trouble with the Facebook link. What, the one for the photography and videography? Let me know, Terry. I'm not sure why. Tony said, I'm shocked they haven't had any independent engineers created a retrofit to alter the Sony camera screen so they can articulate it. What a great idea that would be. Yes, it would void the warranty, but you'd have more than one. I'd do it. Yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat, Tony, if they offered that. And you're right. I don't know why they haven't given us that. That'd be a fantastic thing. Please, Sony, give us an articulating screen, fully articulating. Jim said, thanks for elaborating the A7R body manufacturers. No worries. Richard said, I agree with you. The 24 megapixels is the sweet spot. And like I said, I think it's the perfect sweet spot. And it is. Like I said, I very rarely get my A7R II out. Even if I had the A7R III out, I'd still be using the A9 for most of the work that I do. I definitely will be using the A7 III when I'm doing A7R III and A7R II, here I go again with numbers, when I'm in studio, and also if I'm doing landscape, because you can't beat that camera. And to be honest, it's fantastic for video, the A7R III particularly. Fantastic fusion camera if you're doing both all at once. Carl said, hey there, just made after feeding the kids. That's great, Carl. Michael said, David, DxO is interesting, still trying to understand it clearly, but it's what I need for shoots I wanted to achieve. Can't wait for you to share that in the Facebook page, Michael. I'm really interested to see what you do there. So make sure you share it on our Facebook and videography group on Facebook. I'd love to see what you get out of that camera. Jim said, tell them you lose some money out in the yard. They will keep them busy and burn off some calories. Oh, that's the kids. Mel said, I think they'll get the A5 230. Yeah, well, they will, because that's just been discontinued. Not sure if they will still maintain the A6000 or make the A6300 replace it. I'm not sure which way that's going to go with their cameras at this stage. Like I said, I believe the A7S III is next. After that, I think there'll be the A7 III. And they could update the A6500 at any time to an A67000 or something like that. I'm not sure what that number will be. Michael said, if the A9 had the same dynamic range, man, I would be in heaven. Yeah, it's definitely not quite as good, Michael, but I found it's way better than anything I've used before. It's still not as good as the A7 II, so the A7 III is even better, but it's definitely good enough for what I use. I can really underexpose and drag it all back. So for me, the dynamic range is adequate in the A9. I'm really quite happy with that. Mel said the A700 might come mid or end of the year. There isn't much of a rush for it, it seems, but if they release a 16 to 50 2.8 OSS, it would calm a lot of Sony users. And yeah, it probably would. They definitely still, I think, need to try and support the APS-C cameras, and I hope they do, because I love that camera for travel. The video, it's fantastic. I still use it. Best gimbal camera there is out there. So you can't beat an A6500 and A6300 on a gimbal. It's by far the best camera there is for that. The focus is phenomenal. It's so light. It works just fantastic. The 4K is really good on it. I just wish it had 4K 60p, which is probably what the next one's going to be. But fantastic camera. And you don't need the A6500, guys. If you haven't got the money for the A6500, get the A7RIII. That is basically as good in image quality. It just misses image stabilization, and it's not quite as fast in the processing at the back, but the stills are just as good. The focusing is just as good. The images just look basically the same. The ISO is the same. I've got both cameras, and I can tell you there's no difference. If you're running it on a gimbal, you don't need the image stabilization anyway. So get the A7RIII and buy a decent lens with the money you save. Jim said, Mel said, I agree the A7S III first, but the A7 III should be announced at least third quarter. It's coming. We just have to wait, Mel. It's not going to be that far away, I don't think. Jim Penn said, how Had a Sony A5000 at 20 megapixel sensor, got a great shot of Eiffel Tower printed at 20 by 30. It lost nothing from the camera raw on my Instagram, exactly. Michael said, I totally agree the A9 is great, just been using the a7R II and the A3. And yeah, and I agree, Michael, it's a hard decision which way you need to go. I'm just talking about for me personally. Remember, I mostly shoot events, weddings, and things like that, model portfolios where you don't need to be using an a7R III file size. I just shoot too much to be continuously grabbing in those file sizes. But like I said to you, if I'm doing studio work, which is critical for retouching, if I'm doing landscape type work, I will normally be using the a7 II, or if I had the a7 III, I'd be using that. Honestly, if I still had the a7R III now, if I had the new version, I'd still believe I'd be using the A9 most of the time. Because that 24 for me is just what I need. But that's me. Everyone's different. A lot of people love that resolution and the croppability of using the a7R III, where you can crop right in and have multiple crops from the same image file. It really just depends on what you want to shoot, Michael. There's no right or wrong. You're lucky you've got both. You can choose whichever one you need. Mel said Sony will come back to support the APS-C cameras. I think they will too. I don't think they're going to get rid of them. There's no way. To leave it will be disastrous for their 35 full-frame line. If you start for many, you get to know Sony unless they can sell the A7 for 600 to 700, yeah. And remember too, it does often, people will buy the A6500 and then later on they will go full frame. So it is a way of moving into the Sony ecosystem. So I don't think they're going to get rid of it, guys. I really don't. So I wouldn't worry about that. Now, the thing is, and this is the important thing, is don't buy too much of the APS-C lenses. Buy lenses that you can put on your full frame. Remember, I use full frame lenses all the time on my A6500. So that's something to consider. I've only got 3 lenses for the A6500. I've only got the 24 1.8, which I adore, because that gives me the 35. That's what I'm using now. I've got the 18 to 105, which I love for travel. And then I've also got the 10 to 18, which is a fantastic wide-angle lens. Everything else I use on my A6500 and the A6300 is full-frame glass. It works fine. Sometimes I'm even using the APS-C lenses on my full-frame cameras. So that works fantastic as well, especially for video. If you need a really wide lens on the a7R III or A9 or whatever, I use my the 10 to 18, and I can get 12mm to 16mm on the full frame without vignetting. Fantastic. So it gives me a beautiful wide-angle lens. It's only f4, but I don't care about that. So yeah, so don't underestimate buying an A6500 and an A6300. They're still amazing cameras, guys, and I would buy another one of those tomorrow if I didn't have one. All right, guys, well, we might call it a day. I need to go and drink more beer o'clock because it is Australia Day down here, and I need to basically drink myself silly for the rest of the day. I'm going out tonight for fish and chips, which is English, and also Guinness, which is Irish. But there'll be lots of Aussies there celebrating down the pub, so I can't wait to actually do that. Just to finish off, to leave APS-Cs to give it all to Fuji and Canon. They won't do it. They won't be leaving that market. Please, if you can, give me a thumbs up. Join our Facebook group if you haven't joined that, the Photography and Videography School. Make sure you join that because that's becoming a great community. And I just love dealing with everyone on there. And also, if you haven't subscribed, obviously subscribe. But leave questions down below now if you want anything answered, because I always make sure I answer things personally. I hate these YouTube channels where people are asking people to put comments down below and then they never answer the questions. I think that's just disgusting to do that to people that are following them. Lastly, I've got next week's live show coming up, obviously the same day on the Friday, but then I'll be away for 2 weeks. I'm in Thailand, so I am going to try and do a couple of things while I'm over in Thailand with you. Kerry and myself are going for a nice 2-week holiday sitting in the sun on the beach, so in Phuket. So we may not post as much over that time. I'll try and do a couple of live broadcasts, but I will be here for the next week's live show. Mel saying, enjoy your National Day. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you all for following me and watching me, and I'll see you all again soon for the next video, and g'day from down under, guys.